you guys, it's me Laura. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 kids ages 5, 9, and 12, and I am going to show you inside my reading journal for the month of February 2023. Let's go. Alright, so let's take a look at some of our goals. I am working on reading around the world. I've now read Asia, Europe, North America. I still need to read something from Africa, Oceania, South America, and Antarctica. I have made no progress on my Green Ember challenge. I really want to read those books for my son. He loves them, but they're really not my thing. But I really want to understand the world that he lives in, so I'm trying to do that. I'm continuing to make progress on my Build Your Library challenge, and I have several books that I'll be reading this month that are going to be helping to that. Let's see. As you can see on my book log, I'm still pretty well on track. I've read 17 books so far this year. I read 9 books this month, and I abandoned 5 books. Yes, they were abandoned. And so, going through what I read, I finished Reading for Our Lives. This was a parenting book about early literacy. Parenting books, as I've said before, are just not my jam. I don't enjoy them. I didn't really need to read this whole book. I got mostly what I needed from the first little bit, which is how they often are. And I got through it. I got a few things out of it. So this was 2.5 stars from me. I also abandoned Midnight in the Piazza. This is a mystery book that is set in Italy. It was a little bit slow for me. I just wasn't able to get into it, so I abandoned that one. So The Player King by Avi was from this month, and it was set during a time period. It was after King Richard the Lionheart, and then there were some Henrys, and there was some battling over the throne and not sure, and there was this one child who showed up claiming to be his name was Lambert Simnel, claiming to be the heir to the throne, and this is his story, and I really enjoyed this. It was a typical Avi page turner, didn't want to stop reading, and it got me really interested in a time period in history that I normally find very boring and am not interested in at all. So that was really good. I actually really enjoyed that one. Figure It Out, Henry Weldon, is about a girl who has dyscalculia, and she's in middle school and she's trying to get used to life in the school. There was a really neat quote, "People were never only the things you saw about them from the outside." I really liked that. I was really excited about the story, but then I was honestly disappointed, and I gave it 3.5 stars because there were just too many things going on. There was this soccer line, and there was her with her friends and her with her sister, and kind of the story of what was actually going on in her friends' lives, and there were just so many pieces, and I felt like none of them were fully fleshed out. But I did enjoy it, so I gave it a 3.5 stars. Just Beyond the Very, Very Far North. This is the sequel to The Very, Very Far North. I did not disappoint. It was so adorable, very much in line with the last book. I gave it 5 stars. This is just such a cute book, and I love it. I was listening to A Million to One, which is a Titanic story about these 4 women who come together and are trying to steal this really, I think it's a painting, this really valuable painting, and anyway, try to better their lives. And I could not get into it, so I abandoned it at 21%. I just couldn't get into it. This one is Disrupting Thinking. This is a professional development book for educators, and I mean, it made me think about thinking and what we expect of kids and how we relate to school, and especially reading and things like that with them. It did make me think and question some of the things that I do, and a lot of the question goes back to, what is the relevance of what we're teaching? What is the relevance of education? What is the relevance in this case? And I think that it's always good to be reminded of that. I felt like this book, for an educational, like a professional development book, it felt too political to me, and I did not like that. And it was also just your typical educational book in that, like, there's not as much practical stuff as I would like, but it did make me think, which is kind of the whole point. So I gave it 4 stars. I finished reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe with my son. This is one of my favorite books of all time. So of course I gave it 5 stars. I didn't write much about it just because I love that one. So Cat Wolf Investigates. This was one that I found on Book Outlet that I never would have found otherwise. This is why I like Book Outlet. It introduces me to new stuff that I would not normally find. And I really enjoyed it. So it started out slow. I thought I wasn't going to like it, but if you just get past the first few chapters, it gets better, and it's so good. And it's about this girl who moves with her mom, and she starts a pet sitting business and uncovers a crime, and she has a friend that she's trying to solve the crime with. And anyway, it is got spies, it's got mystery, it's got animals, it's got everything, and it is so fun. And I actually shared this with my oldest, who read this one, devoured it, and now he's almost done with the second one, and there's a third one that he's probably going to be starting this week. And so he's ahead of me. I'm a little jealous. I want to catch up, but this one's really good. This is Bound by Donna Jo Napoli. I'm trying to read more books that are set in Asia and Africa and the Middle East and Oceania and some of these places that we don't, and even South America, where we don't read about, I don't read about as much. I'm trying to expand my horizons. And this one I was just kind of struggling with, and then it just, I don't know, it got to, I really struggle with content that talks about like spirits a lot and really violence, especially to animals or children or things like that. I just don't do well with. So I was already struggling with this book, and then it had some of that, and I just couldn't continue. So this one I did Becoming Free Indeed by Ginger Duggar-Volo. I was really interested in reading this book. I actually ended up abandoning it because it was extremely triggering for me, and I was not expecting that. So that was really a shock, but I'm glad I had the forethought to just put it aside and say, nope. I've watched a lot of interviews and heard a lot of commentary on it, so I feel like I kind of know what's in the book. I'm interested in following Ginger's story and seeing where she ends up, but this one for me was just too triggering. I couldn't do it. So A Place to Belong, I gave 3.5 stars. This is one that I listened to on a plane flight, and I really enjoyed it. But it wasn't perfect. So it's about these kids who are sent over to Japan. Like, this is right after World War II, and this family had been sent to an internment camp, and then at the end of the war, they are deported to Japan. So while the kids are still American citizens, the parents are, they have no home. They're not Japanese citizens, they're not American citizens, and they go live with her grandparents, who are really poor, but they're just delightful. The characters in this book are absolutely delightful. The reason I gave it 3.5 stars is because the ending, I felt like, did not resolve things enough for me. I would have loved to see the storyline more resolved and more focused. So it was a really good book, but it's not one that I'm going to eagerly go out and share and all of that. So this one is The Keeper of Stories. I think someone shared this on Instagram, and that's how I heard of it, and I'm thinking it's the Curly Reader. I'm not even sure I've got her channel name right, and I'm not even sure that that's who I heard about, but it's about this girl, or this woman, who is a housekeeper, and she hears all these stories from these people. They talk to her while she's cleaning and everything, but she doesn't really want to come to terms with her own story or the fact that she even has a story to tell. Again, I was excited about this because I love the idea of stories. I love hearing people's stories. Stories are so important, but I just could not get into it, so I finally abandoned it. This one is called One Last Shot, and it is, it was in the biography section of my library. I think it's like a historical fiction biography kind of thing, because it's definitely not straight biography. It is written in verse, and it is the story of Gerda Taro, or her real name is actually Gerda Porhoil, and it's about her story, how she had to flee during World War II, from multiple countries, and she ends up becoming a photojournalist, and it's the story of her becoming a journalist and her work that she did and how she was passionate about it, and she ended up being the first woman photojournalist who was killed on assignment. So that was something that was interesting there as well. So that is all that I read for the month, and it leaves my page count that I read either on Kindle or in a physical book at 1,903 this month. I read 9 books and I abandoned 5. And that is it for this month. Let me know if you have any questions. I would love to hear what some of your favorite books are that you've read this month, or books that you're reading next month. And I look forward to sharing with you again once March is done and I can tell you all the wonderful books that I read this month. I'll talk to you later. Bye.